Welcome to the Daphne Child Grantee Spotlight Series, where we showcase the innovative work of our grantees in combating violence against children. The Daphne Child Programme is a collaborative initiative funded by the European Union, led by Eurochild and Terre des Hommes, empowering grassroots civil society organizations across 9 European countries through a comprehensive 3-year sub-granting and capacity building program. You can learn more at daphne.childhub.org. That's daphne.childhub.org.
My name is Sofia Coretta, and today I'm speaking with Paula and Anabela from Instituto de Apoio à Criança about their project Listen to Act, training young people to become peer educators in preventing violence against children. Paula and Anabela, welcome to the podcast. Thank you so much for joining.
Thank you. Thank you.
Let's start by you telling us who you are as individuals and as an organization, as IAC, and please also tell us about the youth network that you are working with.
Thank you very much, Sofia, for this invitation. I'm Anabela. I'm coordinator of marketing, communication and projects here in IAC, that is Child Support Institute. I work here since 20 years ago, and this is a Portuguese civil society organization that has been working for over 40 years to promote and protect the rights of the child. We focus on child participation, protection from violence. We have many teams working directly in communities, and we work a lot also in capacitation of professionals and raising awareness of civil society, of parents, of everybody that in certain way are near the children and the young people.
My name is Paula. As you mentioned, I'm the head of the national and international cooperation at Instituto de Apoio à Criança. So I've been working at IAC for about 30 years, mainly in networking and with European and national projects involving professionals and children and young people. So this juvenile network, Crescer Juntos, means growing together. It was created in 2011, and we can say it was an idea of a group of children and youngsters with whom we have been working for a year about poverty and social exclusion. In 2010, we were celebrating the European Year Against Poverty and Social Exclusion, and we applied for a European grant. We invited organizations from all over the country that work with IAC, also in a network that we promote that is building together. And those organizations work also with children and youngsters in vulnerable situation. And it was those children and youngsters that were working with those organizations that all together they wrote key recommendations, they did videos to raise awareness on the issue of poverty and social exclusion. And when the project ended, they said, well, you grown-ups have a network, so do we. So do we want to have our own? And that's why in 2011, we joined children from all over the country. And so since then, since 2011, we have been developing projects with them. So there are several branches across the country because we have 18 districts in Portugal, and almost each district and the island of Açores and Madeira has its own branch. And as we cannot be in presence because it will be too expensive for our budget, so we are online, and once in a year we gather representatives from each branch to present what they have been developing during the year. We have been working on different issues, always issues that are related with things that they are concerned about. It can be environmental issues, digital participation, all kinds of things that they think it's important to discuss about and to have their say. Because what we try to do at the end is that their voices are heard. And when we thought of applying for this grant, and we mentioned the issue of corporal punishment and working against violence against children, we thought of them because through the years they were speaking about this, how important is still to raise awareness on this particular issue.
I love the fact that what you mentioned is that even the whole idea of the project comes from the children. So not only the solution, but as you mentioned, that this is something that was raised by this network, and that's why you thought it was important to tackle it. So Portugal has seen an increase in situations in violence against children. So obviously you got this from the children that you worked with, but this is also confirmed by data from child protection commissions, the police, and even from the SOS Criança helpline. Can you help our listeners understand the current landscape in Portugal? So is corporal punishment something that's still widely accepted in families? And what do you see as driving factors in increasing violence against children?
Yes, we work since ever, since the beginning of the Institute, with situations of violence against children. Even when we started at 1983, even the convention doesn't exist of the children's rights. And since then, we work a lot on projects about violence and negligence. But I think it was after the pandemics in 2022 that we were called from many people from the civil society about situations of corporal punishment in supermarkets, in the streets. So parents with a slap or something like that. And we were called to do something, to create a kind of campaign about this corporal punishment that involves all the civil society. And since then, we have a lot of contacts with universities, with other organizations from the society, even at schools. We find that I think 2 in 3 adults that work with children accept corporal punishment.
Just let me make sure we understand. So we are talking about professionals that work with children. So we are not even talking about parents, but
no, study we divided from parents and professionals. And we ask also these professionals what the age they work with. And this was, in fact, a little bit a result that we don't expect it to have. Besides this, the results of the study that we make inside this campaign, we also have from our colleagues of the SOS Criança, that is the Child's National Helpline, the information that are increasing the appeals from young people about violence, not only violence at home, but also dating violence. And right now we have most the same. So we start watching appeals from schools, for example, also about situations of violence at schools, as Paula was saying. And we are feeling that all the society has become a more aggressive way of dealing with each other. So it was because of that also that we start to create something more structured in this area.
I can add the fact that, and it's not only in Portugal, but in terms of mental health, adults and children are being suffering. And we went through a pandemic, and as Anabela said, a lot of children were reaching the helpline, sometimes only to talk, but mentioning the fact they were not feeling okay because, for instance, in communities we work with families that are in a vulnerable situation and sometimes with some mental health, and the fact that they are not able to cope with many other risk factors that come, and then violence appears like an answer or strategic to do whatever it's necessary to, and they use it sometimes as a way to educate the children, and children were feeling that.
It was that was at the center of this idea of working violence since young ages, because it's important to give them mechanisms to cope with difficulties, so they grow up knowing that it's not okay to solve the problems with violence or recurring to violence. And that is why we intend to go also with this kind of project like Listen to Act, to make them also not only think about this problem, how to manage all the problems that they came with in their life, but also being them to put this to others and to present this to others, because it makes us more strong.
Indeed, you are working with 30 young people, if I understand correctly, from Lisbon, who aren't just participating, but they are essentially running the project. So they are leading the focus groups, they are co-creating the toolkits, and then training 300 plus other students, plus the families and professionals. So that's a huge amount of responsibility. So can you tell us a bit about how you prepare them for this role?
Our team that consists of a pedagogical worker, a psychologist, and a social worker. They are preparing the focus groups, preparing with some core issues that they will give to children to freely discuss about. And then even though we are involving children from Lisbon, we have decided to involve children from 2 other districts of Portugal, in Coimbra and Évora, in the center and in the south. 10 of each district. Discuss firstly with our colleagues what do they want to emphasize, what they think it's important, how do they feel about this, how do they think they can reach better not only their peers but also professionals and parents, to decide how they will communicate through the different target groups. And we know already that they wanted to do some videos, short ones, to raise their attention and awareness on the issue. They say they need to be heard. So it's something that is also very important to them.
Okay, so I understand that you're creating a toolkit, but the form of this toolkit is still under development. So
Yes,
you mentioned video, but we don't know yet what sort of form or shape this will take, because this will be led by the children.
I can say also, because the toolkit is not yet finished, because the issues will be developed by the group of young that are being selected to be part of this project. But we have also the intention to create a training module to professionals and a raising awareness session also to parents, because it's not enough to work with children. We have also to change these cultural aspects of violence also in professionals and in families. Because as you said at the beginning, yes, in Portugal, we accept corporal punishment at family as a pedagogical way of education, and go against this idea, this wrong idea. We need a lot to work with professionals. It's important to have this kind of materials that we spread with the help of the institution that make part of this network, national network, because we have also a lot of actions in advocacy in creating this kind of pressure also in our national parliament and the making organizations here in Portugal.
So, as you mentioned, the toolkit that you are creating, it needs to work for multiple audiences. So children, the families, and the professionals. So I know you're only just starting, but do you see any indications of how the young people navigate creating messages that will resonate with these different audiences? Do you see any indications of that? So you mentioned the video already. Who is that aimed for example?
The video are aimed at their peers, but also with a message that it can reach also adults. Because what we notice as well is that we are working against corporal punishment, and we have to be very sensitive while speaking with children as well, because some of the children that are being mistreated by their families, sometimes they don't realize what is happening and they love their parents. So even whenever IAC started this national campaign against corporal punishment, we always mention that it's an educational campaign. We are not judges. We are not punishing parents because they slapped their child. Our aim is to educate and raise awareness to stop this kind of behavior. And so with children, of course, we have to be sensitive because we don't want children to be against their parents. We want them to realize what is wrong, and we are coping with them so that the message through the parents, the professionals, and with peers, it's the correct message, a constructive message, and a positive in sense of a changing behavior. They are aiming at changing behavior.
Yeah, it's important to focus on this message that Paula was saying, that not the aim is not to judge parents, it's to help them to find another positive ways of educate, of cope with difficulties. So we believe that if everybody has these ways, has contact with this kind of help, we can change behavior. I think it's interesting because when we start this campaign, we study a lot of other studies and other countries that work already at this corporal punishment fight, for instance. And we realized that I think it was Sweden that it was the first country starting with this kind of campaigns and work at a national level, inclusive, and they still have these problems. So I think it's something it's very hard to change. It's not changeable at a short period of time, but we have to start. We have to continue after starting, because what we see that the changes that we have in Portugal, and I think it's representative of Europe and probably around the world.
Yes, and you are both very seasoned child protection professionals, and IAC has been around for decades. So I'm just wondering, so based on your experience in other projects or in other work, and you mentioned that the key is generating like positive messaging around this, but any practical advice or tips that you have on really opening up the parents about these issues? So what do you think is really key to changing these very deeply entrenched patterns or beliefs?
Oh, well, I would say stop and listen to your children.
And I probably say also that it's a future intention of IAC in Portugal to work within this conciliation between family and work time. because the time, it's also something that has changed the way that we stay with others, and it keeps even more and more less time for each other and to listen to each other and to comprehend and to understand the other. So I think it's something that is important to work with.
I mean, it's not necessarily surprising, but so beautiful how in every single project, and there's, as you know, there are 48 projects in 9 countries from very different cultures and different backgrounds, and the listening, it's the common thread in all of this. Everybody reaches somehow the same conclusion. So what is it like when professionals, so we've talked about the children, we've talked about the parents, also when professionals, child protection workers, teachers, health workers, what is it like when they are learning from materials that are co-created by young people? Do you see any resistance?
In Portugal, teacher, for example, has less time for relation also with the students. They have a lot of bureaucratic issues, and we have more and more programmatic lessons or matters, disciplines that are very exigent. And so they don't have time to listen to students, to look and really see what that student brings from home, for example. So I think, and they need a lot, they ask us every day to have activities, to have kind of recipes for solving the problems of the students, because they suffer a lot also by knowing that the students are suffering and they don't have time or mechanisms or supports from the schools to help these children. But I don't remember resistance. I can give also an example of another project that we have that was related with time-friendly justice. And they, for example, our group concludes that it was better to create an application for mobile phone. And the adults stays very surprised with the capacity and the creativity of them to create this kind of app. So I think this could be a good example that I think professionals are very open to these kind of ideas, mostly because they will answer to the needs of the most important ones, that it was children and youth.
And I think I could add also, even for parents, but also for professionals, we had a project with the network, and it was the online generation. It was the title of the project. And the children, when they decided what they would discuss in that year, I think it was 2 years ago, they told us, we want to discuss the parents' behavior through the digital environment, because our parents do not know how to use internet. So they co-create 3 mini videos with short stories about 3 different aspects that they thought it was important. Is the use of their photographs without the permission, because their parents were publishing their images in the social media without their permission, and they did not like it because they didn't enjoy the photos. The other thing was about shopping online, because they were saying that their parents were shopping online and they were using their personal information, and it was not in a safe way. And the other one was in terms of searching on the internet about different ideas, different issues, because they were not using the right
search engine or something
yes.
like that.
And it was a very successful idea, because they did a training session for parents. So they invited the parents, and it had a lot of success. And still it is used, for instance, today among peers education, but also when we are going to school to speak about some digital risks.
I can completely see why that was a success, and I can completely see how they are experts on this topic. And that kind of explains the necessity for the peer-to-peer approach in this area as well, because they are the experts on this in this territory. Thank you so much for that. We are slowly running out of time, but maybe just one last question to both of you. And this can be very personal as well. I want to ask you, what would be your top tip to other organizations that are working towards empowering children?
I think it's not giving up. I think it's really not give up and keep going.
Keep going despite the challenges. Okay, thank you. Paula?
I think that the main focus is empathy and looking at children, not only looking at children, listening to them, be with them and listen to what, even if not with sound, they are saying.
Your saying is so important. Don't just listen to the words.
Yeah. And probably not only to co-create with them, but also recreate, because I think the world is changing so fast that institutions that work with children's rights or against violence needs to be permanently updated. And even if it's necessary to start over, to start again and go and see the results. And if it's not okay, try another thing. So I think it's resilience.
Yes, and that's such a good advice. And it's not something that we often think about, but just to take the time, because we have all the daily work, but to take the time to stop and reassess that what you're doing still makes sense.
And also, I would add cooperation. Sometimes we notice that there are certain organizations or even individuals have difficulty to cooperate. Sometimes don't understand how important it is to cooperate with each other. Maybe it's one of the easiest ways to learn, and it's very important to share what each one of us is facing and how can I cope with you to improve.
Yes, that's in fact one of the objectives of the Deaf Child program as well. So not only to build capacities and to offer grants, but to create opportunities for co-creation and networking. Anyway, Paula Passo and Anabela Reis, thank you so much for joining me today for the Deaf Child Grantee Spotlight podcast. It was a pleasure talking with you.
Thank you. Thank you very much.
To our listeners, thank you for joining us for this episode of the Deaf Child Program's Grantee Spotlight series. You can learn more about this program and all the 48 grantee projects across 9 countries at our website, daphne.childhub.org. Until next time, goodbye.